Hey everybody, I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to make your paper cranes for class here. Now the way I'm going to show you guys, I don't want you to make your crane exactly like the one I'm making today. I want you to make yours a little bit different because if you make yours identical to the way I made mine, then it means you really didn't put much thought process into it. I want you guys to actually think about how you're going to make these things. So to start, I'm going to create a new document like usual, and then I'm going to give it a name. Okay. After I do that, moves it back to the main screen. Now we're all familiar with this at this point, but the first thing we have to do is we have to create a base for our project to sit on. To do that, I want to replicate a 6x6 block that you will be using to create your crane on. So we all know that we need to create a 6x6 block out of cardboard this year. It's going to be a little bit different. And that 6x6 block is what our crane is actually going to be mounted to. To start this, I'm going to click my right plane, go to sketch like I usually do, and I can start sketching. But I want to make sure that my sketch is normal to my drawing plane. So I'm going to orient my plane like that. I'm going to start by going to a center point rectangle. I'm going to start with my center point. I'm going to draw my rectangle. After I'm going to do that, I want to dimension my rectangle to 6 inches by 6 inches. After I've set my rectangle size and dimensions, I want to exit my sketch. I want to go to my isometric view somewhat, and then I want to extrude my sketch to make it a full 1/2 inch thick. Go in here and make this 1/2 inch. Everybody's going to have to do this because we have to have a 1/2 inch block to start off of. Now that I've done this, I can start drawing in my structural features. So the first thing I want to do is start by drawing in my compressive features that's going to locate the bottom of my crane here. And these are going to be a little bit tricky to put in because to do it, it's going to be kind of contradictory to what you're thinking. Most of you are probably going to pick this face here. You're going to sketch, and then you're going to put a circle on this face. And while you can do that, that's not really the best option a lot of you guys are probably going to want to go with. So if I were to do this, I'll put my circle there. Let's just say I want my circle to be 2 inches, and I want my circle to be only 1 inch from the bottom here. Okay, and after I do that, I still want my tube to have a paper thickness to it. So I want my tube to be 0.01 of an inch thick. To do that, I'm going to offset my circle. I'm going to change direction, change my distance to be 0.01. Now that I have my thickness in there, now I can extrude it, and that will give me a very basic tube, which I can go from here to extrude, and I don't want to extrude the whole square, so I'm going to go back into my sketch. I'm going to go edit, and I'm actually going to change and delete my exterior lines. So I'm going to delete these exterior lines, and that will leave me with only my circle there, hopefully. So if I go to sketch 2, go to extrude it, and now it's what I want it to be. So I'm going to make this 12 inches long. That gives me one very basic compressive feature to mount everything to. Now let's say you don't want to have just one solid tube here. Let's say you want to have 2 tubes, you want them to be a taper. We have a couple options in here on how we want to do this. I'm going to show you the easiest method. So now we want to get rid of our feature here. So I'm going to undo it. That brings me back to my base block here. In order to do our angled features here, we're actually want to use a sweep. And to create a sweep, we need to create some profile paths first. To do that, I'm going to rotate this around to the bottom of my block. I'm going to click the bottom of my block, and then I'm going to use the plane command, and I'm going to offset my plane by, let's just say, 0.5 of an inch. I flip the direction, so that way it's inside, and now my plane is inside my block here. Now I know you guys are probably following along here. You're probably wondering, what in the heck is he doing? Just trust me on this one. It's going to make sense when you see it all done. I'm going to go to my plane here. I'm going to go to Sketch. I'm going to go to my bottom view. And now I want to start adding in my lines. I'm only going to add in one angle line to start with. So I want my first feature to start from here and go out like that. I now want to dimension this, and like I said, this is going to be kind of tough to understand from the get-go, but just trust me on this one. I'm going to make that equal to 0.5 of an inch. I guess that doesn't like when I use the inch. That. Then I'm going to make it equal to 0.5 of an inch this way. All right. The last thing I want to do is set a distance. So I'm going to set my distance from my face here to my exterior point here. And I want to make that, let's just make it 10 inches. Now that gives me a very basic starting point to make the sweep for my very first tube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish my sketch. And now I just have a random line coming off the front of my face here. The next thing I want to do is I want to create the sketch that's going to be involved in creating the sweep down our path here. I'm going to select this front face. I'm going to go to Sketch one more time. I'm going to click Circle like usual, and then I'm going to click this endpoint here that we started our line on. After I select my endpoint, I'm going to dimension it. I'm going to make this equal to 1 inch. And then like usual, I'm going to offset that to be 0.01 of an inch inside. So I'm going to swap that to be inside. And then I'm going to change this right here, my dimension to be 0.01. And now that gives me a thickness for my tube here. Now that I've done that, I can green check it. And now I can do what's called a sweep. And you guys should be used to this by now. But unfortunately, when I offset this, it also still included lines from my original square, which I now want to go back in and delete. So I'm going to go in and delete. Come on. There we go. I'm going to go in and delete this line, this line, this line, and this line. That will leave me with just my circle. Now I can do my sweep. So I'm going to go up here to the sweep command. The first thing it's going to ask me to do is find the sketch that I want to sweep. I want to sweep this sketch right here. And the sweep path is going to be my line that I made right here. That gives me my angled tube to start with, and that gives me kind of a good starting point for my crane. Now that I put my angled tube in, my next step is put my other side in as well. Now here's where we have a cool command called the mirror feature. And the beauty of making our square centered like this is we can use our front plane as our mirror plane. So watch this. This is really slick. So I'm going to find my mirror command, which is right here. I'm going to find my entities to mirror, which is this guy. And then my mirror plane is going to be that one. And notice how, boom, that guy pops right up and it makes things real slick. So now I have my two compressive features of my crane, but now I need something that's going to come from the front of my crane to the top of my block for a tensile feature. And that is where things get really interesting. Because what I want to do is I want to create a plane based off of my original sketch here. So what I want to do is I want to use my sketch 2 that I used to create my tube to create my next plane. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click my plane feature, and instead of offset, I'm going to go down to line angle. After I select line angle, I can now select my line here, and lo and behold, it gives me my plane. I want to get rid of that, and I want to close it. And now I have a plane that's parallel to my line I just made. So now what I can do is I can go on plane 2 and go to sketch, and now I want to create a construction line. To do this, I must first draw just a regular line. So I'm going to create a construction line from my endpoint here to the top of the block. And the problem is it doesn't automatically snap to the top of the block. Once I go right there. No, it still doesn't. So I'm going to make that line. I want to dimension it. And I want to make this thing 5.5 inches. Now I want this line to be a construction line because I don't want to use this line as actually part of my sketch. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to click my new line without the dimension command. So click the new line, and I want to click this guy right here, make it into a construction line. What that does is it makes the line dashed, which means that it won't be used during the actual feature regeneration process when we use to make these things. The next thing I want to do is I want to put a second line in the front up here, go straight up. Once again, I'm going to dimension this guy. I'm going to make this going only be equal to 0.5 of an inch. Now I'm going to deselect dimension. I'm going to click my line I just made. I want to make it into a construction line again. So now I have two construction lines. Click off that. And now I can put my sweep path in. So now I want to click line and put my line that I want to keep from there down to there. Now, when we look at this thing, we can see here that I have a line that goes from the top of the block here down to the front of the crane here. Now, my profile path is complete for my next sweep. So the next step I have to do is I have to create a profile to sweep along this. So I'm going to go on my front face of my block again. I'm going to click my front face. I'll go to sketch. And I want to go to my center rectangle again. I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to create my center point rectangle. After I do that, I'm going to go to dimension. I'm going to make this thing, let's make it 0.75 inches wide by, we'll make this only 0.1 inches tall. And now what I can do is, now that I've finished that sketch, now I can do my second sweep. So now I'm going to go to my sweep command once again. I'm going to click sweep. First thing I want to do is click my sketch that I want to sweep, which is this guy. Unfortunately, oh, hopefully that worked. All right. I'm going to click my sweep path, which is, look at that. I have a structure that goes all the way to the front. So now my crane is just about complete for what I want to make it. Now, like I said, I don't want you making your crate identical to mine because I know how to make mine and I want yours to be different. So now I can go back to my mirror command right here. I want to mirror my sweep. So I want to click entities to mirror, sweep. Come on, you can do it. And then I want to go my mirror plane, which is going to be my front plane once again. Look at that. My other entity pops up. Now I have two members supporting my crane for my tensile pieces, and I have two members supporting my crane for my compression pieces. The beauty of this is now I can actually have a functioning crane. The last thing I want to show on here is I want to show that I'm going to put a little block on the front. And this little block on the front, the only purpose of this block on the front is to create a surface for the string to not cut through. So this is going to be really easy for most of you guys. All I'm going to do is literally draw a rectangle to represent, I'm going to do a different type of rectangle. I'm going to go on the front of this guy. I'm going to draw a rectangle to represent, I still don't like that one. So let's do one more. Let's see if I can get it this time. No, I don't know if it's going to work. Well, looks like it'll work. The rectangle to represent the full width, which means I'm going to go in and I'm going to dimension this now. I'm going to make this 1 inch wide by 6 inches tall. Now I can green check that. I'm going to extrude that sketch. I'm only going to make it like probably 1/4 of an inch. Remember that the whole point of this little block here is just to provide a notch for the string to set in so the string doesn't fall off the side of our project. Now we have our finished crane. We can go back in and turn our sketch planes off because there's no point in looking at all these different sketch planes because they just get kind of confusing after a while. So I'm going to turn that plane off right there as well. Now we have a finished crane. The cool thing about this is now I can take this and I can put it in my drawing. Now remember that we're going to have a couple different drawings on this one when we do this. I'm going to have my first drawing. So I'm going to go to Insert, Create, Drawing. I'm going to do A anti-inch, just like I always do. And now, I'm going to close that, hit OK. Now that brings up my drawing, hopefully, which is just like I see here. I want to go into my Part Studios. I want to go to this one. And that will hopefully allow me to insert my views. And the beauty of this one is it's going to have distinctly different views than the other one. I'm going to insert one more view, which is going to be my top view, which I do want to align with my front view. So my front view and my top view have to be aligned. And I'm going to insert my last view, which is going to be my isometric. And that, as always, is going to go up in the corner here. Now, I'm going to insert my dimensions. The differences on this one is we need to include angular dimensions. So we have our main dimensions here, which we already know, but the ones we're going to be adding that are new are going to be our angular dimensions, like this. And we can include our angular dimension, something like that, so that way they're easy to see. So there's that angular dimension. And then I also want to include, come on, this angular dimension as well. And then obviously I'm going to include my other dimensions like height, length, and width. But I want to make sure you guys see that I want to include my angular dimensions, especially on our features that you can't always see the good angle on. Make sure you include those. All right, now I'm not going to go in and edit my title block here, but well, I guess I will. So I know a lot of you guys did not add in your features for your title block, so I want to add in not just crane, paper crane project. Right, and then I want to add in my name, drawn by C. Whiteman. Then since we don't have any revisions, I'm going to have rev 0 since this is not revised. Now, a couple of you have asked me if you can go back in and change your designs. And yes, you can always change your designs before you build it. And if you have already turned in your project and you want to go back and change it, then you would actually technically call your second design Rev 1. And the reason why is because you've revised your drawing one time, so then you would actually call it Rev 1. But since this is my original drawing and it has not been revised yet, I will call it Rev 0. This is my first drawing, mostly done. I still need to add some more dimensions in here, especially for like my diameter. Like, where's the dimension item? I need to make sure I add my diameter in here. In this case, it's going to be radius, and that's going to be popping out to the side. Okay. Now, the next drawing is going to be new to you guys. And the next drawing is going to label our tensile and compressive features. So I'm going to go back to Part Studio, and I want to create a second drawing. I'm going to go to Create Drawing, same format as always, with no views, hit OK. The difference is I'm not going to insert any standard views on this one. What I'm going to start by inserting is not that. Come on. Let's just go 1 to 4. Insert. And actually, I only want to insert my isometric view, and I can actually change the scale on this one to be even bigger. So I can go like 1 to 2 and put that in. So I only want to have an isometric view on this one. The difference is on this one, I want to insert notes showing that I have tensile and compressive members. And the reason why is because we need to get in the habit of thinking exactly how we are going to insert notes to show that our features have members. So like our features have forces. So like that note, I know that this member is going to be under tension. I'm going to write that one as being a tension member. I also know that this one down here, that is going to be a compression member. Same thing with this one over here. Compression member. And then lastly, this one right here, which will be a tension member. This is all I want for this second page. So you will actually have 2 drawings that you're going to turn in for this project. You will have drawing 1, which is your standard orthographic views with your isometric and your dimensions. And drawing 2 will show your tension members and your compression members and how to put them in like this. It will also include your title block as well, so make sure you fill your title block appropriately. All right, everybody, that is it. If you have any questions, email me, ask me questions, but this should get you going on your drawings. All right, good luck.